Our next speaker is at the forefront of digital transformation in California state government. As a product manager with the California Department of Technology, Anirban Sen has been instrumental in advancing innovative solutions to modern challenges. Today, he will discuss the department's latest efforts around digital identification in California government, an initiative that promises to redefine how residents interact with state services securely and efficiently. Please join me in welcoming Anirban Sen.
Good afternoon. I was just wondering if this was on. Appreciate it. My name is Anirban Sen. I'm a senior product lead at the Office of Digital Services at the CDT, and I'll be talking about identity today. Before we get started, I wanted to kind of discuss the concept of identity, not specifically digital identity, but what is an identity? I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about what we mean when we talk about digital ID, discuss a little bit about the program and the platform, and finally, how you can help get involved. So at the core of it, when we talk about identity, it's not a driver's license, it's not a social security card. Those are simply artifacts of pieces of your identity. Really, the identity part of it is who you are as a person, and that's more amorphous. It's not necessarily physical. From the state, we look at identity as only being useful when you're interacting with the state. When you're, let's say, going to buy some alcohol, you need to produce your driver's license. But anytime before that, your driver's license is in your pocket, it's not used anywhere, right? At the point of interaction is when you need that identity to come into play. So what is a digital identity? It's essentially a quality of I am who I say I am, and I have a quality about me that makes me eligible for something. That at a conceptual level is what we talk about when we're saying digital identity. And it doesn't exist for its own sake. From a human-centric, we talked a lot about human-centric design. From a human-centric design perspective, it only is useful when a human interacts with the state or with somebody that's asking them to prove themselves. Just to give you an example, John, he's a 67-year-old retiree that's on a fixed income. He wants to get a discount on a bus fare. He has to go to the transit agency, taking his state ID or driver's license, and putting in a paper application. He has to wait weeks sometimes for his application to be processed, and then he can have access to his discount or get a card mailed to him so that he can actually ride that bus on that discounted card. The digital ID program is essentially a platform that gives John the capability to get that discount instantly online. So some of the problems that we're trying to solve, the first two are essentially problems for Californians, and the second two are problems for state departments. From the first two, as a Californian, we talked about John. He has a number of barriers for applying for that benefit. He has to prove his identity. A lot of times, if he's going to a transit agency for a bus pass, and he's going to maybe like a Medicare office to get Medicare benefits, he has to produce that documentation multiple times and have multiple applications filled out. Secondly, a lot of times when he fills out those paper applications, they're sitting on somebody's desk. They're sitting in a file folder somewhere. There's an inherent PII exposure risk there. His name, address, social security number, all of that's exposed. Finally, from a state perspective, it's really expensive and complex for somebody to prove, hey, by the way, in order for you to get this transit discount, you have to be a part of, maybe enrolled in CalFresh. That means that transit agency has to contact CalFresh and say, hey, is this person enrolled with you guys? Are they eligible? So it's really complex because those criteria vary from department to department. And then, again, there's also barriers to data sharing. A lot of times, state departments don't share data with each other. And this is where the California Digital ID program comes into play. We've built a set of software and services that enables an individual Californian to seamlessly do this, essentially prove it out. Some of the things that our principles that we design our software by, first of all, nothing exists without world-class security. Our platform is built under the purview of the Information Security Office at the CDT. So everything that we do is encrypted. It's behind security protocols, et cetera, et cetera. Secondly, our design principles are privacy by design. We want to be able to deliver services to Californians with as minimal amount of information required as needed. So we don't want to get your whole life history in order for you to get a discounted bus pass, for example. So we really pick and choose from the data that we require from Californians in order for them to go through the process. Thirdly, access and equity. So we want to make sure that it's accessible to everybody. We talked about minimizing PII when a user comes in. There are also situations where maybe an individual doesn't have a social security number, for example, right? Or they may have a language barrier. So we want to make sure all of our designs, from our user experience to the data that we require, is equitable for all Californians. And finally, our platform is built with a spirit of openness and transparency. We use open standards, open source code, and we build so that our platform is extensible and flexible enough to be able to plug and play any number of identity providers, data sources, et cetera. And by the way, all of this is, in order for a Californian to go through the process, they control the amount of data they want to share. So all of this is informed consent driven. So the user has to consent to sharing their data so that we can actually prove their eligibility through the platform. So at a high level, this is a really complex diagram, but I'm going to kind of talk you through it. There's John Doe. He's the individual that starts with an application. He visits a client agency website or a portal. In this case, let's just assume it's the Monterey Salinas Transit website. And he wants he's a veteran, and he wants a veteran discount on his bus pass. The moment he hits that website, he's redirected to one of our identity providers. In this case, we have login.gov as a portal. Login.gov then either asks him to create an account if he doesn't already have one, or if he already has one, just log into that account. From that point, the California Identity Gateway gets his information from login.gov and passes it on to the VA. So login.gov is the identity provider. That's the source of data that holds his information. The state of California doesn't hold his information. We just connect to it. And we pass that information on to the VA. And the VA, we ask the VA, hey, is this guy really a veteran? Does he exist in your system? The VA responds back with a yes or no. At that point, we make a determination. We say, is this person eligible for the discount or not? And we strip out everything else, name, address, social security number, all of that. We strip it out, and we put out a Boolean, a yes or a no. And that goes back to the transit agency. And at that point, the transit agency then administers the benefit to them. A couple of things to point out here. First of all, our gateway, as you can see, we don't store any data. And the moment we're done with his data, we delete it. It's gone, right? So it's only being used, as I mentioned earlier, it's only at the point of requiring that information, and then it's gone. Secondly, we mentioned login.gov as an identity provider. You can plug in any number of them. It's not just login.gov. You can plug in ID.me, ID.mia, whatever you want. So it's open. Thirdly, we have a set of data sources that we're verifying that also hold disparate pieces of information on John. The VA could hold his veterans information. CalFresh could hold his CalFresh enrollment if he's enrolled in CalFresh. CMS, which is the Medicare system, could hold his Medicare data. None of this is used by us or held by us until we need to prove something. And after it's proved, it's gone. It's back into their system. A couple of things I wanted to mention on CMS. We were talking about rapid development. My team, and I've got John Florian over there, who's actually writing code at the moment, by the way. He's my developer. We built the CMS integration from inception to full production deployment in 4 months. And thank you. Moreover, when we found out, when we were looking at their API, we noticed that, hey, when we make a query to their API, it's coming back with essentially everything on this individual. Their PHI, PII, everything. And we talked to the Medicare team and said, hey, we only need to know if this guy's in your system. We don't need his health information. Medicare team said, hey, is that right? And they're like, okay, maybe we shouldn't do that. So they adjusted the scope. And this is what I was talking about, where somebody was talking about data governance. Here's a situation where a state department talks to the feds and advises them on their data governance. So it's really, really influential and consequential. So what do we do in this past year, 2024? Our goals were to scale the system, expand partnerships, draft some guidelines, and increase engagement. To that effect, our scaling system, we started using OKRs, and our OKR for scaling the system was going to be 1,000 full verification queries per second. We knocked it out of the park. We have over 4,000 queries per second that we can support today. From an expanding partnerships perspective, we've launched the SAC-RT implementation. We have integrated with Medicare. We've integrated with CalFresh. All of these are in production, and we can support that today. From a guidelines perspective, we are also interested in deploying mobile credentials. And mobile credentials, the way we look at them, your mobile driver's license could be one. Park passes could be another that could go on your phone. Business licenses could be other. So what we've done is we've actually written a set of guidelines in collaboration with our web standards and web services team on how California's mobile credentials should look like, so that when somebody looks at it, they know that it's from the state of California, it's official, it's trusted. So those are the guidelines that anybody that's interested in deploying mobile credentials can use those guidelines to build theirs. And then we engaged engagement. We've reached out to a number of different departments. We've spoken at a number of different engagements, such as this one. We've also we're in the process of writing a couple of op-eds and press releases, like the one at SAC-RT, for example. So some of those things are what we've done in 2024. We've got a lot more planned for 2025. And how can you help? If you've got a use case where you need to have identity and eligibility systems updated, or if you have a unique use case, or if you're issuing digital credentials, please scan that link. That's a mail to our team, and we can be in touch. We can talk. Appreciate it.